Thank you, Joy. I'm ready too. Are you ready? Really? That's the best you got? Let's try that again. Are you ready? Yeah, there you go. I hope so, because we have a fantastic service for you today. Welcome. My name is Reverend Bob Fortner. It's a pleasure to serve here. I want to start by introducing our very special guest musician. And I want to let you know he's a Los Angeles-based singer-songwriter and humanitarian. He has performed his heart-opening, profound music for over 1 million people in 45 states and Canada since beginning his career in 1999. That's when we moved on this property. Selling 100,000 CDs to date and receiving literally thousands of standing ovations along the way, including here this morning, earlier. No pressure. No pressure. So his music, 15 of his songs have been recorded by over 50 artists. They've been, his music has been, appeared on NBC, Fox, CNN, PBS, E, MTV, History, IFC, Bravo, and movie theaters across the United States. Which movie theaters? Pretty cool, huh? And television. That's really awesome. So we are delighted to have him here to share his very special music, but not only his very special music, but his message as well. So Daniel.
Yes.
Again, thank you so much for being here, and not for just being here at Unity of Palm Harbor, but for being such a marvelous part of the Unity movement. I first met Daniel at a conference down in St. Petersburg, down at the Trade Winds. I was with the Suncoast Ministries. I believe that was the first one. I said 2010, but it may have even been earlier than that.
8 or 9?
Yeah, I'm thinking 8. Because I do remember that you were there with Richard Rogers, of course, and you had both dropped in on the Astrodome right after Katrina.
That's right.
And I'm not sure what year that was, but anyway, but it was a very inspirational message that you brought to us, and one that I think a lot of Unity ministers, myself for sure, need to hear, and that is that idea that God will show the way when we have the faith and when we actually set the intention to be inspired. Because as a Unity minister, we can have a lot on our to-do list. And we can think that what we should do to be good ministers is that always be on top of everything that's happening in the church, and not only be on top of it, but being pushing. Because we've got to move forward, folks, because, that's what we do. And Richard shared what I've discovered, that it doesn't work for me anymore that way. And guess what? It never did. It never did. The times where we really moved ahead as a ministry were the times when I was able to step aside and say, show the way, God. Show the way. And that's how we got this property. It's basically how we built this sanctuary. It wasn't something that I was driving. It was something the Spirit was driving. I know you've had some experience about that in some songs. Yeah. just a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I'm a recovering child of 2 lawyers, and my parents would still send me to law school if I dropped out of the silly music business stuff. And I was a computer programmer way back when I was a little boy, all the way, if you remember, Commodore 64s, and some of you remember, and the original IBM PC that weighed 40 pounds, and TRS-80s. Anybody remember these things? Yeah. We called them trash 80s at the time, for kind of good reason. Anyway, so I was an economics major in college, then a computer programmer after college for 6 years, until I had nothing less than an epiphany that the reason why I was accumulating a 401k and stock options and frequent flyer miles and had a dream job but was miserable nonetheless, and the reason was that I was lying for a living. And everything died that day. The job, I was engaged to be married. That relationship ended that day. It all died. And it was December 4th, 1997. And I moved to LA to make a living making music the next year, because I have always been a musician, always since I was probably born, but certainly a little boy. I was always the little boy closest to the live musicians and making up harmony parts and plunking songs by ear and that kind of thing. That was always me. But 7 years later, after making a living, I don't know how I managed it, but cobbled together, started making a living making music. I was exhausted by the intensity of Los Angeles, West Hollywood, and I moved out of my little apartment, handed the keys of my record label to an assistant, and said, I'm getting out of here. And I rented a house in a little town in Utah called Moab, which is in the southeast corner of Utah, near Colorado, and in the middle of Arches and Canyonlands National Park area, Red Rock country. Crazy, crazy, beautiful place. And I went January, February, March, because I'm from Chicago and therefore a little masochistic. And it was cold, but not as cold as Chicago, and nobody else was in those national parks. They get millions of visitors a year. I was alone in the parks, alone completely. I mean, not even park rangers some days. No cars, no planes, no people, no animals, no voices, no wind, no snow, and nothing. Not even the animals hang out in high desert in the middle of the winter. And I took naps on the Arches in Arches National Park. I took hikes in canyons and saw and heard nothing but a little trickle of snowmelt in a little stream for hours at a time. And for 86, it was the quietest I'd ever been and the quietest I've been since, really. That doesn't make sense. I haven't been as quiet since, what I meant. And so when you met me at that event, I was fresh from Moab. And people asked me, I said in the first service, people asked me, what's it like being back? And I'm like, oh, I'm not back. During that time, I got there with no agenda. I'm frequently asked, or somebody says, I want to do something like that. I don't have 3 months, but any suggestions? And I say, yeah, only suggestion is make no plans. If you make any plans, then you are tilting the steering wheel in a direction. And my hands were off the wheel for those 3 months, and it turns out I'm a songwriter because I started writing songs day one and started writing 3, 4, 5 a day until I had 126. I wrote song number 126 on my last day in Moab. And most of them suck, as I like to say. But the beauty of it was the pure artistic process where I owed nobody anything. As far as I was concerned, nobody would ever hear those songs, so I could write anything I wanted. Vulgar, sarcastic, bitter, cranky, condescending, whatever it was, I wrote it, I owed it to nobody. But what started happening was, as like a snow globe settles over time, my little stirred-up computer programmer, child of lawyers, entrepreneurial, intense little head started settling, and I found myself writing song after song, steeped, sorry for the pun, in the notion of water and in the effect that water had had on this place without any planning, without any committee meetings, no architectural drawings needed, just billions of years, oceans rising and falling, deserts blooming, a single grain of sand flaking off from a single fleck of snow. And fast forward, if you can imagine, which we can't, billions of years, and you're standing looking at one of the most spectacular things anyone's eyes have ever seen. And I started thinking, maybe I'm thinking a little too much. And maybe I'm planning a little too much. And maybe I'm holding onto the steering wheel a little tight. And maybe I'm taking myself too seriously. And maybe I can do my best work if I don't pretend that I'm going to decide how it's going to turn out. And that's where I landed with you when I met you. So much pushing and pulling, so much fighting and straining, so much laboring against waves and wind. I am tired, my arms are weary, my back is aching, my eyes are bleary. I think I'm finally ready to give in. I have struggled, I have cried, I have screamed inside about the kind of life I've tried to lead. Well, right now I think it's time for the very first time to lay down my body and mind and just be. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. Down the block or to the moon, round the world or just to my room, I can't say where I'm supposed to end up. I've resisted for so long, as if I could do no wrong, and it's never been quite good enough. It's a funny thing, I guess, this prideful human saying yes without knowing what I'm agreeing to. But there's a simple fact I find: the decision's never been mine. All I'll ever do is what I'm meant to do. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. It's a scary thing for sure, to lay down my oars and quit pretending that I've ever been in charge. But it's scarier still to spend my strength and will and never even have a peaceful heart. So here goes the toughest thing. Ironic, don't you think, that it's so hard and so easy all at once? No, it's not laziness, it's just the deepest kind of trust that I'm okay when all is said and done. I'm okay when all is said and done. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. You know, somebody could say something and they'll just toss off something and it'll stick in your head forever, associated with something, and they won't even remember having said it, but you can never get it out of your head. Like I once read a review of a James Taylor album, and it said, no matter how depressed you are, James Taylor's always more depressed. Never been able to forget it. Probably read that 30 years ago. And I also can't forget my friend Harry hearing this song. He's a boat owner in Southern California. And when he heard this song, he said, Daniel, it's very pretty, but if you stop steering your boat, it's definitely going to sink. I'm like, Harry, it's a metaphor. He's like, yeah, all right, but it would sink. That's all I'm saying. So, nobody can out-cynic me, that's all I'm saying. But I can't get that line out of my head. Every time I've sung it since, I think of Harry saying, Daniel, it's gonna sink. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? No, current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. I'll just go where the ocean says to go.
I don't know, Daniel, I have a boat too, and when you're in the flow of the river, you're not really steering the boat, you're just keeping it in the flow. In the same way when you're sailing, you're not really trying to sail against the wind, but what you're doing is keeping yourself in the flow, And I know that's what you do, and I know that's what your music is about. And part of that being in the flow is sometimes you've got to do something about it. I was sharing with them earlier, one of the songs that I sing most often in my life, I think, is one that took me back to when I was like 16 and I had this spiritual experience. And so I was like, what do I do with this? I don't know. This is like, man, I know something's going on. So what do? You go to church. And I happened to choose a Pentecostal church to go to. And so this is serious. I walked in the back door and I stepped into the sanctuary, and as soon as I did, a woman jumped up and she said, "The Lord has just spoken. A young man here is ready to dive into the holy waters." I was like, uh-oh. Exactly, that's what I said. And anyway, I ended up avoiding that in all Christianity for a number of years until I found unity. And now that I found unity, I find that one of the things I love to do is to dive into those holy waters. And it might be the beautiful waters over at Caladesi Island, or it might be the springs in Florida. And each time I do that anymore, I just, I get ready and go, "Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in."
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Now sing it with me. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. If you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Get ready, my soul. Get ready for meditation. Diving in. I'm diving into the deepest kind of love, to the deepest kind of love, the sweetest kind of life, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. Diving in, I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in, deepest kind of love, to the deepest kind of love, sweetest kind of life, to the the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. So if you haven't already and you're comfortable doing so, then close your eyes for a minute. If for no other reason than our eyes don't always tell us the truth. My time in Moab, I took over the next 4 years, I took 4 groups on a retreat back to those canyons. And one of my favorite little moments each time is when we'd arrive at this incredible canyon, 1,000-foot high, red rock cliffs on both sides, sloping downward, a trail through this canyon, usually blue sky above, a little scrub and brush. So you have this bright red, bright blue, bushes and plants that are, some of them, 1,000 years old. People had come from all over the country to be there. And we'd round the corner, and I always just liked to watch their faces as they saw that place. Just so beautiful. And then we'd head out onto the trail, into the canyon. There's about a mile, easy walk downhill through this place that you just couldn't make up. Couldn't imagine. And for the first 50 feet or 100 feet, people would be chatting about what they had for breakfast, or whether their socks were too tight, or where'd you get your coat, or yeah, I always fly Southwest, or and you could feel, I could feel, how silence descended. It seemed as though people were gradually realizing that there was a voice whispering to them, so quietly that any radio station would drown it out. Even the quickest snippet of small talk would drown it out. Earthly worry easily drowned it out. No website in the world didn't drown it out. Every glowing screen drowns it out. But if you surrender all that, and I watched people surrender it there in that canyon, ever so slowly, as the silence deepens, you start hearing that whisper. Always there, almost never heard. It's almost always too loud. And by the time we got to the bottom of that canyon, every time you could hear the air rushing underneath the wings of an eagle flying overhead. And no one would say a word. We were too busy busy listening. To a whisper. When things go wrong, it's natural to wonder, what celestial rule did I break? When things go right, it's logical to ponder, what credit can I take? But the truth is so much easier. I don't need a master plan. I can live here in the moment, 'cause my life is in good hands. I don't need to know where the wind blows, 'cause God knows. I don't need to know what the future holds, 'cause God knows. I need never know how pain ends, how my heart mends. I can just let go, 'cause God knows. Well, still I find I'm crying out for answers. Guess I'm still craving control. And still I find I'm afraid of taking chances, as if I could damage my soul. But at this moment I remember, it comes so clear to me, that the minute I surrender, the minute I surrender, I'm as safe as I could be. I don't need to know where the time goes, 'cause God knows. I don't need to know what the future holds, 'cause God knows. I need never know how pain ends, how my heart mends. I can just let go, God knows. Oh, I need never know how pain ends, how my heart mends. I just let go. I can just let go. I can just let go. 'Cause God knows. God knows. God knows.
So, at the first service, I had this, like, what I should do kind of thing. Like, oh, I should, like, touch on my talk title somehow. And I realized that, no, talk title actually is Holy, Holy. Being holy, holy. And that idea that wholeness is actually perfection, and perfection is not without imperfections. It's being mature, it's being complete. See? And all your music is pointing to that in this moment we are complete. Let's pray. And as we turn within in great gratitude and thanksgiving for everyone gathered here, for the spirit that we feel flowing amongst us, and for our troubadour, our messenger, Daniel Nahmod, for the beauty of his music that we have enjoyed and the music is yet to come during this concert afterwards. Just with open hearts, let's all say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen.
I'm through asking where I'm going. I've been asking all my life. I've grown tired of all this wondering when everything seems to turn out right. So when my mind needs something to do, wants to know the future, I whisper this: I'm okay. I've always been, and I'll always be that way. You want to sing that with me? I'm okay. I'm okay. I've always been. I've always been. I'll always be that way. And I'll always be that way. So here goes nothing. I'm taking a chance. I'm opening up, knowing that I'm in good hands. Here goes everything. It's all on the line. Oh, but I'm not afraid this time. Some say it's crazy. Some say naive to close my eyes and take the leap. But I know better, 'cause I believe even in the dark my soul can see. So when my mind plays its usual game, oh, my answer is always the same. Here goes nothing. I'm taking a chance. I'm opening up, knowing that I'm in good hands. And here goes everything. It's all on the line. Oh, but I'm not afraid this time. Here goes nothing. I'm taking a chance. I'm opening up, knowing that I'm in good hands. And here goes everything. It's all on the line. But I'm not afraid this time. No, I'm not afraid this time. No, I'm not afraid this time. 'Cause I'm okay. I've always been, and I'll always be that way. I'm okay. I'm okay. I've always been. I've always been. I'll always be. And I'll always be that way. Pretty much feel like I crowded everybody else off the stage today. Hope that's well. I'm not fishing. Thank you. Easier morning probably for you guys, but with such a talented minister and musician in the room, I feel a little guilty. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're not sick of me yet, because in an hour I'm going to sing some more. I'm sort of tired of myself at this point, but I don't. By the way, I said this in the first verse, and I'm about to sing another ballad, and I don't actually only sing quiet songs. It's just what came up today with the theme and your discussion of "Get Ready, My Soul" and the water songs, and it quiets me. Maybe not surprisingly, now that you know what those are about. So this is one more song that as I said to the first service, I for those of you who aren't coming or can't come to the concert. I want to share this one song with you, because there are a couple of songs. I've written thousands, and like I said, most of them are terrible, but written thousands of songs, and a couple of them really encapsulate something that I came to say in this short and sort of disturbingly hairy body of mine. Well, it's disturbing, and not as hairy as my dad, but I'm getting there. Anyway, you probably wouldn't want me to say that out loud. Scratch that from whatever you're filming. Anyway, I talked too much already, but I came from a kosher Jewish home. My older brother is an Orthodox rabbi. I am the weirdo, liberal, commie rebel in the family. Dare I say, apostate or whatever, because I grew up in that world. I went to private Jewish school through 8th grade. Half the day was in English, half the day was in Hebrew. I know the rules, and there are a lot of them. And I never really wanted to follow them. And I had something else to say. It didn't feel right to be in a club. Sorry, this is true about every religion. I didn't feel right to be in a club that excluded almost everybody else, and that's always felt that way to me. And it took a long time for me to write this song. Actually, it did physically take a couple weeks for me to write this song, but it took years and years till I was trying to make a living as a songwriter and singer. And sat down one day in my little apartment in West Hollywood in about the year 2000, 99 maybe. And wrote what for me is, like I said, this thing that I came to say. And as I told the first service, I await the day when it's so obvious a message that it doesn't need to be sung. And I keep getting reminders that we're not there yet. So I want to share this song with you before I close. And the last thing I'll say is, on my CD table, if you're not interested in buying any music and you're open to just finding out next time I'm in Florida, or in this area especially, I think I'm going to be doing a one-day mini retreat in the fall. I forgot to mention the first service. I don't have it planned yet, but it's going to be September, October, November. I'm doing a couple in Phoenix next month, and I want to bring one to Florida because they're fun. About the water songs, readings and discussions and songs and quiet time, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in that, just need an email address. And then in addition to CDs, I have a USB drive, and if you don't know what it is, you don't want it. It's got, people look at it like, what is this? I'm like, it doesn't matter. You don't want to know. It has 10 of my inspirational records on one credit card size object. It's a USB drive, you plug it in, and it's 140 songs. 10 albums, complete lyrics, a dozen unreleased songs, photos from the road. If there was any justice, it would cost $10,000 and weigh 100 pounds. Because of how much blood, sweat, and tears is in this music. A lot of records, a lot of music. But that's an easy way to bring a lot of music home if you want it. And then the last thing is I mentioned also the first verse, my wife is my opposite. She has class, style, taste. She knows when to stop talking. She also is an introvert to my extrovert, and is an artist who was never able to do it for a living. She was one of 5 kids raised by a single dad. Went to work straight out of high school, and had never met anybody who made art for a living until she met me. And she makes silver. And about 9 months ago, she came out of her workshop with these hearts that were so beautiful, and the last thing she would ever do in a million years is stand behind a table and greet strangers. Never in a million years. Worse than a root canal without anesthetic. But I started carrying a few of these pieces of silver. This is a sales pitch, but it's also a proud husband. I started carrying a few of these with me around the country, and I said, is it okay if I see if my audience if anybody's interested in silver, beautiful silver hearts, handmade, one of a kind. She said, truly, she said, as long as you don't tell me what anybody says. I don't want to know. She does it for the art of it, and she doesn't have the thick skin that I've gotten over 20 years, of, your songs are so beautiful, you should get a real singer to sing them. I've gotten that one. I say, thank you, do you know any? Anyway, so that's what's at the table, and I'll see you in just about an hour for about an hour and a half of music. No intermission. I'm going to try to keep the talking to almost to zero, honest to God. It's very hard for me. And then we'll say goodbye. So thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. It's been lovely. Here is the song that I will sing for anyone, anywhere, and have done, from the Crystal Cathedral to Buddhist temple to Mormons, Muslims, Hindus. I'll sing it for anybody who is willing to listen. There's one power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. It's as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angel's wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, yeah. One power. We speak so many languages, different clothing, different colors, different names. But different is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart we're all the same. Yeah, we'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit or Jesus or Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem or Heaven's Door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth, or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of the love. You and me, one power, yeah. One power is what we are. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace, freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon, for it's love, it's most deep. It's one power. What we are is one. It's the power of the love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of